Today, I would like to share with you a deeply emotional story that unfolds within the confines of social expectations, familial aspirations, and personal journeys. It is the story of Amelia Sterling, a young woman whose life is a complex tapestry woven from the desires and disappointments of those around her. If you have ever felt the weight of parental expectations or struggled to forge your own identity, you may find some familiarity in Amelia's journey. The Sterling family is an influential name in Boston's financial and philanthropic circles. Arthur and Eleanor Sterling, Amelia's parents, are powerful figures deeply entrenched in their status and social image. For them, the legacy of the Sterling name rests upon having a male heir, a belief that tattoos the family dynamic with tension and disappointment from the moment Amelia is born. Her entrance into the world, instead of being celebrated, is met with cold disappointment. Arthur and Eleanor's desire for a son looms large over her, casting a shadow that will follow her throughout her life. Eleanor, in the throes of unacknowledged postpartum depression and suffocated by societal expectations, feels her emotions spiral out of control. Rather than nurturing the new life she has brought into the world, she retreats into herself, leaving little space for her daughter. This neglect gnaws at the soul of the young child. It creates a void that Amelia does not yet know how to articulate, but feels deeply nonetheless. At the tender age of 3, Amelia is sent away to live with her great-aunt Beatrice, a decision made under the guise of practicality, but charged with emotional abandonment. Beatrice, a former art history professor, nurtures Amelia with a kind of love that her parents cannot provide. In the quiet, book-filled brownstone of Providence, Amelia learns not just about classical literature and the beauty of gardening, but also about stability, affection, and the dignity that comes from learning and self-discovery. Life in Providence is a stark contrast to the cold, ambition-driven world of Boston. Beatrice encourages Amelia to explore her intellect and passions, creating a home filled with laughter, warmth, and understanding. For 5 formative years, this becomes the safe haven that Amelia clings to amidst the reality she has been removed from. However, the connection to her parents remains tenuous, only reinforced by their occasional perfunctory visits, 2 pastoral calls per year, accompanied by a sterile exchange of obligatory gifts. At 8 years old, Amelia is brought back to the bustling life of Boston, a move made under the societal pressure to present a complete family image for an upcoming charity gala. The shift is jarring, thrusting her back into the expectations of a lifestyle that feels alien and suffocating. The gala planners do not see Amelia as a child in need of nurturing. They see her merely as the daughter who completes their perfectly polished family portrait. As Amelia navigates the world of high society, she quickly realizes that she has transitioned from a carefree young girl to a performer in a play where she is not the star. Her parents are fixated on maintaining an elite status, an obsession that creates an emotional distance between them and their children. Little do they know that their dream of a male heir, a hope that Amelia knows they still harbor, will only deepen the cracks within the family dynamic. The story intensifies when Clara, Amelia's younger sister, is born 2 years later. Unlike Amelia, Clara is greeted with a warmth that Amelia never experienced. Arthur and Eleanor, in their quest for a male heir, project their dashed hopes onto Amelia, while embracing Clara with a mixture of delight and relief. Clara becomes the child of the moment, the daughter whose presence alleviates some familial pressure for a son. Consequently, Amelia finds herself relegated to a position of quiet tolerance, the older sister who must fulfill obligations while her parents' love and acceptance pour toward Clara. However, Amelia is not entirely without agency. In the shadows of neglect, a profound bond starts to blossom between the sisters. Their shared understanding of the emotional distance perpetuated by their parents creates an unspoken alliance. Even amid the stark disparity in their upbringings, Amelia consciously chooses to protect Clara from the burdensome expectations that she herself bears. She becomes Clara's unofficial guardian, forging a bond that will alter the trajectory of their lives in unforeseen ways. Her parents may define Amelia as merely the tolerated one, but amidst the chaos of her family dynamic, she begins to discover the strength of her character. Slowly but surely, she learns to navigate the emotional terrain of expectation and disappointment, a dance that shapes her resilience. This delicate interplay of familial ambition and personal longing sets the stage for the powerful journey that unfolds. And so, as we delve deeper into Amelia's story, we begin to witness the emergence of identity against the backdrop of societal demands, an exploration of what it truly means to find one's voice amidst an ocean of expectations, set against the poignant framework of a family struggling with its own definition of success. Attention viewers, today we delve into the complex dynamics that arise from parental expectations and the impact of family favoritism as we continue the journey of Amelia and Clara Sterling. Following the heavy emotional weight of Amelia's early childhood, we must now explore what transpires as Clara enters the world and how this shifts the already precarious balance of the Sterling family. When Clara is born, 2 years after Amelia's arrival home, the atmosphere surrounding the Sterling household shifts once more. This time, familial disappointment has not entirely receded, but rather it has morphed into something more insidious, a second daughter syndrome, aggravated by the expectations hovering heavily above their family name. Arthur and Eleanor, while still yearning for a male heir, can momentarily breathe a sigh of relief. Clara's arrival, though still a daughter, provides them with the opportunity to momentarily redirect their ambitions, allowing the pressing need for a son to simmer in the background. In this new reality, Clara becomes the favored child within the Sterling family. Where Amelia was met with ambivalence, Clara is enveloped in warmth and acclaim. As the days turn into months, Eleanor's attention shifts dramatically. Rather than the cold indifference Amelia often felt, Clara receives the affection, attention, and gifts that Amelia learned to do without. Clara is cooed over, her every achievement celebrated, whether it be learning to walk, mastering a new dance move, or simply taking a good photograph. Eleanor's moments of pride in Clara are shared publicly with friends at luncheons and family gatherings, fostering an unspoken hierarchy in which Amelia is expected to assume the role of a dutiful older sister while enduring the emotional distance created by their parents' preferential treatment. Amelia, now 8 years old, becomes acutely aware of the gulf separating her from her sister. Despite being thrust into the spotlight as the oldest daughter, she mostly exists in the shadows, tasked with flawless adherence to virtues of excellence and poise. The expectations heaped upon her shoulders feel like a burden she cannot shed. She is thrust into the world of elite boarding schools, where the pressure to maintain impeccable grades looms over her, and her parents' expectations weigh heavily on her. Arthur and Eleanor envision her as the symbol of their family legacy, while simultaneously, Clara receives the gentle nudges to explore interests of her own. Amelia cannot help but feel as if she were a mere tool in Arthur and Eleanor's quest for status, her emotional needs falling squarely under the weight of family ambition. In the stark contrast of their upbringings, Clara becomes a focus of Eleanor's nurturing and affection. She is permitted to dabble in dance classes, imbued with a sense of excitement as Clara learns the art of photography. Clara's imaginative spirit is celebrated, her interest nourished, while Amelia's achievements are merely expected, recognized only within the confines of obligation. They both know the hierarchy, a silent code that runs deep within their household. Though Amelia experiences the sting of her parents' favoritism, she carefully shields Clara from the harsh realities of their upbringing, fostering a bond that grows stronger amid the familial divide. The sisters form an alliance founded on understanding and unspoken love. Though the burden of being the more academically inclined daughter weighs on Amelia, she nurtures the essence of Clara's creativity with the carefulness of a protective older sibling. Together they create a sanctuary of joy and laughter amidst the storm clouds that often envelop their parents' expectations. During stolen weekends in Amelia's old bedroom or summer evenings spent cultivating flowers in Great Aunt Beatrice's garden, they find comfort in one another's company, crafting a shared world away from the glaring spotlight. In Clara's innocent laughter and creativity, Amelia glimpses a hope unadulterated by the unyielding ambitions of their parents. Yet, with this hope comes an unsettling realization, the lengths to which she must go to shield her sister from the stark brutality of their parents' expectations. As time passes, Clara becomes aware of the disparities and begins to see glimpses of the harsh realities Amelia had faced. Even as she enjoys her mother's affection, Clara slowly feels the weight of the emotional expectations that have begun encroaching on her own identity. The tension within the Sterling household grows as the years progress. The ambiguity surrounding Amelia's place in the family and the spotlight on Clara's untainted joy reveal the fragile dynamics at play within their lives. As Amelia struggles against the tide of expected achievement, she grows increasingly resolute in her role as Clara's protector, ever aware of the emotional and psychological fallout that accompanies the harsh realities imposed by their parents. While the Sterling family may be celebrated in elite circles within the walls of their own home, they are unwittingly breeding a complex dynamic of insecurity, quiet resentment, and emotional neglect. As we journey alongside Amelia and Clara, we uncover the layers of complexity that define their relationship against the backdrop of societal expectations and familial ambition. Little do they know that this carefully crafted alliance will be deeply tested in the years to come. Join me as we continue to uncover their story and witness the evolution of their lives amid the turbulence instigated by their parents' relentless ambition. As we turn the page in the narrative of the Sterling family, we find ourselves standing at the precipice of yet another pivotal moment, the birth of Thomas, the coveted male heir. The arrival of their son brings an undeniable shift, not only to the family dynamic, but also to the very essence of Arthur and Eleanor's ambition. For them, this represents the fulfillment of a long-held desire, a realization of prestige that had eluded them for so long. Thomas's arrival is heralded with grand celebrations, a spectacle that underscores their social standing and reflects their unyielding hunger for validation. From the moment he enters the world, Thomas is showered with the adoration and fanfare that had been withheld from Amelia and Clara. His nursery is a carefully curated creation of opulence, designed by the most sought-after interior designers. His clothes are bespoke, tailored to fit the budding heir of the Sterling legacy, adorned with labels that speak to wealth and status that Arthur and Eleanor have pursued so vigorously all their lives. For Arthur, Thomas is not merely a son, he is the embodiment of legacy, a living testament to their triumph over societal expectations. And for Eleanor, a long-awaited chance to redirect their ambitions, now molded through the eyes of their son. While the family rallies around Thomas, Amelia, and Clara watch from the sidelines, acutely aware of the privilege cascading over their brother like sunlight through a gap in the clouds. Where Amelia once assumed the mantle of dutiful older sister, now she finds herself wrestling with a widening chasm of neglect. The equality they yearned for feels further than ever like a mirage receding into the horizon. Clara, still cocooned in the warmth of their parents' relative affection, begins to sense the division wrought by their brother's presence, slowly unfolding like petals of a flower blooming in the shadows. The disparity in treatment is nothing short of stark. Amelia learns to navigate the world of elite expectations while carrying the weight of her parents' ambitions, an upbringing meticulously crafted around poised appearances, perfect grades, and social graces. Meanwhile, Thomas appears to dwell in a realm untouched by such burdens. The absence of expectation on his young shoulders becomes palpable. He is free to revel in the joy of childhood, exempted from chores, academic pressures, and the constant scrutiny that has shaped his sisters. Each milestone of Thomas's, his first steps, words, or even mischievous giggles, becomes a cause for lavish celebration, recorded for posterity and shared among their vast social circle. Every moment is captured, scrutinized, and turned into a social narrative that elevates the family name, while Amelia and Clara exist as mere afterthoughts, echoes in their parents' grand narrative of success. In response, the sisters maintain an unspoken alliance fortified by a shared understanding of the complexities they face. Amelia, while simmering with resentment and confusion, meticulously protects Clara from the undue burden of their parents' expectations. She watches Clara blossom, blissfully ignorant of the looming storm. When Clara shows interest in dance and photography, Amelia embraces her creativity while carefully steering her away from the harsh realities that await. These moments of joy are fleeting, yet they provide a sanctuary where the sisters can momentarily escape the tug-of-war over familial favoritism. During weekends spent in their secret nook, Amelia's room filled with books and laughter, the urgency to shield her sister takes on deeper significance. The stakes, ironically, rise with each passing day as the world beyond their sanctuary looms larger, filled with expectations both spoken and unspoken. However, reality begins to seep in as time unfolds. Clara, buoyed by her artistic endeavors, inadvertently catches glimpses of the disparities that surround her. The once innocent laughter becomes tinged with questions about why she is celebrated, while Amelia appears tethered to anxiety over perfecting her parents' dreams. Differences become a source of bewilderment for Clara, who finds herself torn between the illusion of their cozy world and the uncomfortable truths that lurk beneath its surface. As she recognizes Amelia's sacrifices and the emotional tumult her sister continuously shields her from, their bond deepens, a connection forged in quiet acceptance and an intrinsic understanding of the love that fills the gaps left by their parents' overwhelming ambitions. While the Sterling family's social presence shines in elite circles within the confines of their own home, their successes breed confusion and unrecognized turmoil. The arrival of Thomas is a shining representation of achievement and privilege, yet it unwittingly cultivates a landscape filled with emotional neglect, insecurity, and buried resentment within the hearts of the sisters. As Amelia grapples with the balance of loyalty and the need to protect Clara, the true price of their family's ambitions becomes clearer, a price that no one, least of all the children, should be forced to pay. Join me as we continue this exploration of siblings united by fate, navigating the complexities of family expectations against the backdrop of a world that values appearances over authenticity. Little do Amelia and Clara know, the dynamics will shift once more, compelling them to confront their past while forging paths toward autonomy and understanding. As the years unfolded in the sterile yet grand walls of the Sterling household, Amelia found herself grappling with an insidious form of disillusionment. The burden of her parents' expectations loomed larger, suffocating the dreams she dared to harbor. Arthur and Eleanor, entrenched in their relentless pursuit of social supremacy, remained indifferent to the emotional turmoil that clouded their daughters' hearts. In a world where image trumped authenticity, Amelia increasingly felt like a shadow and echo that faded into the background of their wealth-fueled extravagance. Amelia's teenage years were painted with the stark contrast of her sister's divergent realities. Clara, who initially relished the cloaked love their parents extended, started to experience an ironic twist of fate. The once favored daughter, in the shadow of their coveted son, found herself thrust into the throes of social anxiety, an ailment dismissed by Eleanor as nothing more than shyness. Clara is simply too delicate for this world, Eleanor would say, barely masking her frustration. Amelia understood the truth. Clara's struggles were rooted in the same emotional neglect that had long haunted them both. It was during one particularly tense family dinner that the simmering discontent reached its boiling point. The dining room, filled with pretentious lavishness, echoed with superficial pleasantries as they discussed Thomas's recent accomplishments. Arthur leaned back in his chair and with an air of entitlement pronounced, "You both have been nothing but distractions from our true purpose." The room froze, and an unsettling silence settled over them like a thick mist. Clara looked upward, tears brimming at the corners of her eyes, while Amelia's gaze hardened with a mix of fury and despair. Shielded from the harsh truths their parents wielded, Clara had already begun to feel the weight of responsibility settle on her young shoulders. That night, the sisters fled their oppressive home and found solace at Great Aunt Beatrice's tranquil abode in Providence. Wrapped in warmth and comfort, they dared to be vulnerable. The years of suppressed pain gushed forth like a dam breaking. Beatrice, with her keen insight and unwavering love, listened attentively, her heart heavy at the knowledge of their struggles. Yet it was her gentle demeanor that revealed the depths of her hope for the girls. "You are both far more than the circumstances into which you were born," Beatrice said softly, her eyes glistening with determination. Faced with the stark reality of their situation, Beatrice decided it was time to confront Arthur and Eleanor. With a phone call that would send ripples through the Sterling family's carefully constructed facade, Beatrice reached out, her composed voice carrying a heavy weight of confrontation. "Arthur," she began, letting the silence stretch taut between them, "it is time we discuss the way you and Eleanor have neglected the emotional needs of your daughters." The response was defensive, a tidal wave of rationalizations swirling in the air. "I provide for them," Arthur retorted, desperation hanging on his words. Yet Beatrice, ever more determined, countered his argument with sharp clarity. "Financial support does not equate to parental love, Arthur. You have failed them in ways that cannot be measured by wealth. Your daughters deserve more than your public persona. They deserve a father." Seizing the moment, Beatrice leaned into her role as the advocate. She threatened to expose the emotional turmoil lurking within their family home. Potential legal ramifications loomed, challenging the pristine image Arthur and Eleanor cultivated in Boston's elite circles. Emboldened by Beatrice's intervention, the sisters returned home, uncertain yet hopeful. They observed a subtle shift in their parents' demeanor, a measured attempt to soften their harshness in front of outsiders. However, the glaring truth remained: the favoritism, particularly towards Thomas, continued unabated. The girls would not be fooled by the mere veneer of change. It merely served to deepen their resolve. Yet, amidst the lingering shadows of neglect, Amelia made a vow to herself. She would protect Clara, be her shield against their parents' emotional stonewalling. It was not merely an act of loyalty, but a rekindling of hope, symbolizing a bond forged in fire. Together they would find a way to reconcile their ambitions, shifting the narrative that had long been dictated by their parents. With Great Aunt Beatrice in their corner, the sisters began to carve their paths, destined to break free from the suffocating legacy their parents sought to impose. They would weave their narratives into a tapestry rich with resilience and authenticity, drawing on the strength of their shared experiences. As they navigated the complexity of their lives, their bond would only deepen, serving as a reminder that they were not alone in their struggle, that they were indeed each other's salvation. And as the specter of disillusionment loomed large, Amelia knew that it was perhaps through the shadows that the seeds of growth were sown, allowing them to rise towards the light of their own choosing. As the first rays of dawn broke through the curtains of Amelia's modest apartment, she found herself seated at a well-worn wooden table, a half-empty cup of coffee by her side. The comforting aroma wrapped around her like a security blanket, nudging her into the reality of her life, a life lived away from the judgmental gaze of her parents. It was a life sprinkled with newfound independence, aspirations, and a burning desire to build something unique. Each morning brought its own set of challenges and triumphs, but no matter what lay ahead, she was determined to forge her own path. Amelia had just turned 18, and with the paperwork for university applications spread across the table, a mixture of excitement and dread filled the air. She had agonized over her decision to study architectural design, a choice met with palpable disdain from her parents. Arthur had furrowed his brows in disbelief when she mentioned her plans, his expectations of her molded so tightly around antiquated gender roles. Women in our family should focus on securing suitable alliances, not wasting their talents on impractical careers, he had declared dismissively, his eyes glossed over with the perpetual quest for social standing. Eleanor had echoed his sentiments, her maternal instincts suffocated by years of self-imposed pressure and societal expectation. But for Amelia, the fire ignited by her passion for architecture drowned out their voices. She envisioned a life beyond the confines of her parents' suffocating standards, a life where she could create, innovate, and design spaces that spoke to the soul. She was ready to break away from the toxic legacy forged by Arthur and Eleanor and shape her world with her own hands. And so she submitted her application to one of the most prestigious universities across the country, determined to take her future into her own grasp. In the months that followed, she juggled her studies with internships, manifesting her ambition into tangible steps for success. The financial aid she secured, coupled with her freelance work as an architectural designer, instilled a sense of pride unlike anything she had experienced growing up in the Sterling household. Here she could express herself freely, unencumbered by the weight of familial expectations. The calls from her parents, which had dwindled to a few stilted conversations every couple of months, felt less like an obligation and more like echoes from a distant world she was well on her way to leaving behind. Meanwhile, Clara stood at the precipice of her own choices. Arthur and Eleanor's recent favoritism towards Thomas, the golden boy of their household, had begun to take a toll on Clara's fragile self-esteem. The once beloved youngest sister soon felt the cool winds of overlooked potential as comparisons with their brother eclipsed any sense of accomplishment she had ever known. Clara's love for art, dance, and photography rapidly descended into the shadows of their parents' casual dismissal, branded as mere hobbies of a sensitive girl. Yet Clara, much like Amelia, found solace away from her oppressive home. The moment Clara confessed her desires to attend a local art college, she sensed their parents' immediate disapproval. Arthur and Eleanor threatened to cut her off financially, wielding their wealth like a sword meant to control and subdue. But rather than caving to their demands, Clara sought refuge in the very same shield that Amelia had promised to be, a sisterly bond forged through shared neglect. Amelia responded with open arms, offering Clara a spare room in her apartment, helping her navigate the application process and securing student loans. With each passing day, the two sisters grew closer, reveling in the possibility of shared dreams. They spent afternoons rallying around art books, sharing their visions of the futures they wished to create. Clara, buoyed by Amelia's unwavering support, began to reclaim her voice and pursue her passion with fierce determination. As for Thomas, the untouched golden child, he thrived under the weight of entitlement, showcased in tailored clothing and pampered with extravagant gifts for mere steps in life. He was cast as the expected heir to the Sterling throne. Each year, his celebrations grew larger as their parents proudly documented every moment on social media. But in the corner of Amelia and Clara's hearts, there budded an unspoken bond, one that was laced with compassion for their younger sibling, a child thrusted into responsibility before he had a chance to seek his own identity. As they navigated their individual journeys, both sisters learned to turn the pain of their upbringing into resilience. They were not merely victims of their past, they were warriors carving new paths for themselves. Each step forward resonated with the memories of their great-aunt Beatrice, who had taught them the power of knowledge and emotional stability. It was through her love and encouragement that they discovered the strength to create their own stories. In this brave new world of independence, Amelia and Clara bonded over mutual support, failure, and triumph, paralleling each other's struggles with every passing day. Each act of rebellion against their parents represented not only a victory of self-assertion, but also a commitment to their own authenticity, steering far from the expectations that threatened to drown their spirits. As summer turned into fall, an invigorating sense of freedom permeated their lives. Together, the sisters envisioned futures filled with possibility, driven by ambition rather than the demands of legacy. They clung to each other as they embraced their newfound identities, empowered by the notion that family could indeed be defined by love, support, and an unwavering belief in one another. Together, they vowed that they would be the architects of their own lives, embracing every triumph and hardship along the way, triumphantly working towards their dreams side by side. YouTube outro. And that brings us to the end of this chapter in Amelia and Clara's inspiring journey. As we close the door on the Sterling family's shadow, we step into a realm of independence, resilience, and the power of chosen family. Thank you for joining me on this exploration of their lives. If you found this story meaningful, please consider giving this video a thumbs up and sharing it with anyone you think might resonate with their journey. Your support not only helps spread their message of empowerment, but also builds a community rooted in authenticity and understanding. If you have thoughts or reflections of your own on this narrative, drop them in the comments below. I would love to hear your perspectives on resilience and carving out a path defined by our choices. Do not forget to subscribe for more stories that inspire and connect. Together we can share narratives that move us and encourage others to embrace their journey, no matter how complex or difficult it may be. Until next time, hold on to your dreams, and remember, the power to forge your own path lies within you. See you in the next video.